Us Catholics need to be thinking about ourselves in a new way.
Does it feel sometimes like you're losing the battle and life is a disappointment?
We've got to have the courage to say that there's something missing.
The Lord is interested in giving to us His power so that we can live a new way of life.
What are we called to be? We're called to be saints and missionaries. There's something in us after meeting Christ that makes us want to tell others.
The Lord wants to speak through you and use you and stir you.
This universal call to mission is a revolution.
As we hear the Spirit, He recreates us and we become new people.
This is it. This is all what it's all about.
Hey, welcome to another week of The Choices We Face. We have a particular delightful experience in store for you today. Peter Herbeck is here as always, but we also have Coach Gerry Faust, the Notre Dame football coach and a dedicated Catholic man. Welcome, Gerry.
Well, glad to be here with you and Pete.
Well, it's really
it's a great honor.
Well, it's really great to have you here. And the immediate reason why Coach Faust is here is that I was in Akron about a year ago, and I was attending a Saturday morning men's breakfast, which my brother Andrew Martin goes to, and my brother-in-law Bob Morris goes to. And it's the same men's breakfast that Coach Faust goes to. And we got talking. I said, "Hey, would you be willing to be on our TV program someday?" And he said, "Sure."
Yeah.
So here you are.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
That's a great group. It's part of Answer the Call, and each parish has their own group, and we meet once a month, and it's done, very well done in our parish, and brings about 30, 40 men together, and we have Mass first, and then a little breakfast, and then we sit and talk about different problems, things like that.
It's really great to have men gather like that. Fantastic.
The last one we had was we were talking about how to raise children, and there were a lot of older guys and a lot of younger guys, so it was a great dialogue there. It was really
excellent.
Yeah. Well, we have a little video that we're going to use to introduce you today. And then when we come back from that video, we're going to ask you to tell a little bit about your story.
Okay, great.
Good. We're going to watch it right back here.
We're going to get up on the run. We're going to go, 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 go. And we aren't going to stop until we go that goal line.
My dad always was a great Newt Rockne fan. So I grew up with that. So I wanted to play football for Notre Dame and came up here in 1952. There were about 15 quarterbacks there that day, and I was about 8th in line. And after I saw the first 7 throw the football, I knew I couldn't play football here at Notre Dame. They were too good. My next dream was to be the coach at Notre Dame. If I couldn't play here, I'd like to be the coach here someday.
Who has the winningest high school football team in America? It's Cincinnati's Moeller High, the Fighting Crusaders. In the past 15 years, they've had 140 wins over only 16 losses.
In 1968, we lost a football game, and
in 1968?
Well, we lost them.
You'll never forget it, right?
Well, this,
when was your last loss? When did you last lose a football game?
1971. I wrote Father Joyce in 1977. I don't know why I did it, but one day I sat down and wrote him a letter and told him if the job would ever open up, I would like to be the head coach.
He sounded like he would be a perfect person to be coach at Notre Dame. The only drawback being that he was a high school coach.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the new coach of Notre Dame, Gerry Faust.
Ever since I've been in the 5th grade, playing CYO football, riding my bike back and forth from practice, I used to sing the Notre Dame fight song. Never had the opportunity to go to school here because I wasn't good enough to play. Just to think that I have an opportunity to be part of this great university is just a thrill in itself.
September 12th, 1981, wrapped in a wave of emotion, Notre Dame's 93rd year of football had finally arrived. 46-year-old Gerry Faust had won the hearts of Irish followers everywhere. Now he wanted to win his first collegiate football game.
We play against LSU. We beat them up pretty good, 27-9. A couple teams in front of us lost. In Gerry Faust's second week of his coaching career, we were the #1 team in the country. My wife told me this is going to be just like Moeller High School. Never lose. How wrong we were. Next week we lost to Michigan. We go to the big house, and we get it handed to us. You want to talk about a bubble bursting, and obviously you don't know at that point that the bubble is bursting for good, but it certainly brought everybody crashing down to earth.
Jerry dreamed all his life of being the head football coach at Notre Dame, and he finally got the job, and the job overwhelmed him.
Our offense would be a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 we'd be going for, and Jerry would be just going up and down the sidelines looking over at us saying, say Hail Mary, say Hail Mary.
Say Hail Mary, say Hail Mary. Say Hail Mary now, say Hail Mary. Everybody say Hail Mary, everybody say Hail Mary, let's go.
He would turn to everybody and say Hail Mary, and if you weren't careful, you would find yourself, Hail Mary full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
30 minutes of football, man, 30 minutes. You've worked too hard to let it go. Hail Mary full of grace. It's been 2 tough years, you know, as far as physically on me. But to be perfectly honest with you, it's been 2 of the greatest years of my life. All these young men that we coach are really our sons in a way. And they become our sons when they play for us. Hey, Tim. Thanks for everything, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it. I love you.
At some point in your life, everybody needs someone who believes in them more than they believe in themselves. And for me, Gerry Faust was that person.
He touched more people's lives outside of football, from students to fans, than probably any other coach.
And I remember writing personal notes and stuff to my grandparents when they were ill, and to parents and relatives of other people. And you know, I want to say to strangers, but I don't think Gerry Faust ever met a stranger.
In November of 1985, Gerry Faust's dream ended as it had begun, in a showdown with LSU.
We were driving for a touchdown at the end of the game. Steve Berline threw a pass to Tim Brown over the middle.
Pass I should have handled very easily. I just sort of let it slip through my hands, and the guy trailing me caught the ball and picked it off. And
they ran the clock out, beat us 10-7. And I was on the field shaking hands with Arnsberger, and one of the coaches come running out of the locker room. Tim's really emotionally upset. He felt he lost the game. And he's over in the corner, and we can't get him to settle down. I said, Tim, you didn't cost the game. You wouldn't have had to catch that ball if I'd have made the right decisions. Don't put that burden on you. I said, the burden should be on me. And I gave him a hug, and I walked away. In that moment, I said, I'm stepping down. It's not fair to these kids. For me, not to make the right decisions in the games, and to them have to go through what they're going through. And to this day, it was the right decision. Probably the toughest of my life, but it was the right one. And it was a great 5 years. Sometimes you can never answer, you know, you don't know why things happen. I'm sure there was a purpose that I was sent here, you know. I don't know what it was, but I don't think anybody does, but I think there was a purpose.
To be honest, there were people that were crying, and I was one of them that got a little teary-eyed listening to Gerry talk about that the dream didn't come true.
Certainly it was a highlight of his life to get the Notre Dame job. That was the answer to his dreams from the time he was a toddler. The low part of his life is possibly, you know, not succeeding there, but he hasn't let it get him down. And when he's going to be judged up above for his whole life, he might get more credit for the way he's reacted to adversity than to the good fortune that he had. He always thanks me for giving him the opportunity of being at Notre Dame for 5 years. When I think to myself, as miserable as they were, you know, he still really thinks that's the highlight of his life.
You know, that was a very moving video. What it showed was the Lord lifting you up to a place of prominence and things not working out as you hoped they would work out, but you coming through it, believing and hoping and loving and trusting in the Lord and making a decision that you thought was right for the program. And what that shows, and you know this, and I know you don't want us to talk about it, it shows character. It shows the depth of your relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. It shows your true priorities. It shows what's at the core of your being. And that is such an important thing to communicate to men and women and young men and young women today. And Coach Faust, just how did you get to be a Christian man?
Well, my parents, you know, my dad taught at St. Catholic High School 51 years and was a football coach there for 20 and retired from that because he won 10 straight city championships in Dayton Chaminade. And Then my brother was younger, and they didn't win, and asked him to come back. So he came back 1 year as the head coach. They won championship again, and then he retired after that and just stayed teaching. He was an engineer by degree, and he taught mechanical drawing at the high school and math. And so he loved teaching. He loved to interact with young people. And my mom, she was just a mother through and through. And I remember one time she was telling me when I was playing high school football for my dad. He was tough to play for, but I'd do it again in a second. I'd do it again in a second. But he didn't want anybody to think I was playing because I was his son.
Yeah.
But anyhow, my mom came up to me one time after the game, and she says, some woman came up to her and says, why you got your rosary? Are you praying? You're afraid? You're praying so your son doesn't get hurt? I mean, you're praying that your husband would win? And she says, no, I was praying so my son doesn't get hurt. so she was right in there.
So you really came from a very dedicated Catholic family.
Yeah, they were tremendous Catholic, great examples, and had great love. And till they died, I used to tell them I loved them. I'd call them every day on the phone and tell them I loved them and everything, even though I wasn't around them a lot because I moved to Cincinnati. I was at Moeller 21 years before I went to South Bend.
Coach, how did you integrate? How did your faith impact you at Moeller and at Notre Dame, and as a coach, and what got communicated to the kids? And I know it was a part of your success all the way along.
Well, I felt that, I was an assistant at Dayton Shaman. I taught English there and assistant at Dayton Shaman for 2 years, and then I got the head job at Moeller High School, so it's a brand new high school, which eventually we had over 1,000 boys in the high school, an all-boy high school. Yeah. And so I had a great devotion to the Blessed Mother, and because the Brothers of Mary taught me in high school, and the Prieston Brothers at the University of Dayton, and then there's Moeller High School to the same order. So I always went through her to Christ. And the one thing, on that little clip there, I wanted to bring up first so I don't forget, is I said there in the clip there that you don't know why things happen, and I realize why it happened the way it did. When I go out to speak, I can speak to people because I've been at the top and I've been at the bottom. I had my dream, and I had to give my dream up. And I was fired at the University of Akron after 9 years because we had a 1-10 season. And I look back at it, I can tell people now, hey, I've been at the top, I've been at the bottom, but I've always been able to handle it. Why?
Yeah, why? Yeah. Tell us.
Because I got three things. I got my strong Catholic faith, which I inherited from my family and watched them, and it's grown. Secondly, I have great friends, and I have a great family. And if you have one friend, you have one family member, and if you have a faith, and I don't care what faith you have, you just believe in God. That's the important thing. And I respect everybody's faith. Of course, I feel mine is easier to reach God through the sacraments. And through the sacraments, it gives you the ability to have graces to overcome temptation, overcome sin. And that's a difficult thing to overcome, both temptation and sin. I remember when I was in Medjugorje in 1989, I had an opportunity to meet Visca. And I asked Visca, how do you stop temptation? And I had to go through an interpreter because she couldn't speak English. Sure. And I asked first if she would I could answer her question. She said yes and everything. So, and she said this, I'll never forget as long as I live. Pray, pray, pray. The power of prayer is the only answer. And it is the only answer. Pray, and she said it twice. Pray, pray, pray. The power of prayer is the only answer. So anytime I have temptation, anytime things aren't going, I pray. And it really helps out. And for the people out there that are watching the show, we all have these crises we meet in life, and we just ask prayer to answer it, and it's answered the way it should be. And Christ, I really believe, got me there, the Blessed Mother got me there, because they wanted me to be there for 5 years, and then they wanted me to leave. Because they want people to realize that you can be at the top and you can be at the bottom, but you can handle life through prayer.
Yeah,
and through
that's
Christ.
really, really true.
And through my faith.
Yeah,
my
and you know,
faith.
and it reminds me of what the Apostle Paul says. He says, "I know how to handle having nothing. I know how to handle having a lot." You know, and the thing is to preach the gospel when it's convenient and inconvenient, when it's hard, when it's easy, and just
it's a great point. And preaching is helping others.
Yeah,
I really believe that, and that's why when I was in Lourdes in 1989, also, our only plane that was late was there, and I met this Irishman. I was going to mass with the sick, and this Irishman. Long story. I don't have time to tell the story, but at the end, I told him, "Have you dipped in the water yet?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, tomorrow." He said, "Tomorrow I'm dipping in the water." I says, "Well, a miracle may happen to you. He had cancer." And I didn't even know that until he told me that. And I says, "Maybe God will take care of it. There's been over 100 proven miracles." And he turned to me and he said this, Jerry in his Irish brogue. He says, "I'm 48 years old. I have 4 sons, 2 out of high school, 2 almost out of high school. I live my life. If a miracle's going to happen, let it happen to one of those 6 little kids." There were 6 little kids in wheelchairs there in the men's ward at the hospital. They have not lived their life. I turned away and I had tears in my eyes because that man was a saint. He was willing to give his life up at 48 years old for those kids.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that. Yeah. So it really bothered me why I couldn't do something that man could do, you know? And after probably 3 or 4 days of prayer, it came to me. Christ doesn't want us all to give our life for others or for our faith, but Christ wants us all to give. And there's different ways you can give. Your talents, your treasure, and your time. You know, those 3 things. And if you could do those 3 things in life, you know, and give. So what I try to do is to help people out when they're in need, you know, or go somewhere where maybe I'll affect one person to have them come back stronger as a Catholic or as a Christian or of their faith, whatever they have. So we each have our ways. You too, your time and your talent is what you're doing by having this program, EWTN. And so you are serving God in the best way you know best. And I think that's all God asks, Christ asks us to do.
But you know what, Jerry, you know, it's, that's true, but you know what I'm inspired about is a lot of guys in your position, as well known as you are and as in demand as a speaker, wouldn't be going to your local parish men's group on a Saturday morning. I'm impressed by that. You know, being with the other Catholic men right where you are and supporting them and being supported by them. Also, I know today you drove here to Michigan from Akron and you need to drive right back to pick up your grandkids from school. You got the carpool today. So you're doing humble service in your family. You're standing with your Catholic brothers as brothers. You know, you're walking the walk, and that's helping everybody to walk the walk. Seeing somebody, you know, in your position, humbly serving, humbly loving, you know.
I mentioned to Jerry at the break that we had there, just to say that, you know, he may be the only Notre Dame coach in history who didn't end with a big winning record, who is loved by the Notre Dame community. I mean, and this is the reason why.
They see
the
his heart.
genuineness of the humility and the love and the desire to serve. There's just no question about it. I mean, I've been a Notre Dame fan for a long time.
You have
so
been there.
Yeah, I'm a Subway. I've been a Notre Dame fan for a long time.
I went there. You guys are bigger fans than me.
I know. But anyway, I know all kinds of people. When you mention Gerry Faust, they're heartwarms because they experience the love of God. They experience, and your faith was at the heart of that, and the way your family raised you. It's just really tremendous. Really
the grotto
inspiring.
is a special place at Notre Dame. And the funny thing about it, I went down there with my children for the spring game and my wife, and we went down to the grotto. Marlene wanted to go up because we had 6 kids playing at Notre Dame from Moeller at that time. And so I went up to lit candle, and I touched the rock there that's from Lourdes in 1980. And I turned around, there's my 3 children, my wife looking up to the Blessed Mother, praying to Christ. And that was the greatest moment of my life, because here they were reflecting with God. So I went and lit all the candles for each one of them. I lit 8 candles. Last candle I lit 5 and became the coach at Notre Dame. I'd come to this grotto every day. So 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Father Joyce, honest to God.
Isn't that something?
I met with him a week later, and he says, Coach Devine, his wife's very sick. He's probably might step down. Would you be interested in being the head coach at Notre Dame?
Yeah.
That was about 3 weeks after I lit that candle. So I made a promise. So a week ago, I had to go up there, a couple of weeks I had to go up there and speak up in that area. So my buddy Mike Leake picked me up on his plane, And Mike Leap was being honored up there in the Champion Club up there at St. Andrew's Products. So I went up to go up to that with him. And so we get off the plane to South Bend, and he picks me up at the airport to drive up to Michigan City. So we drive down by the campus. I said, who are we picking up down there? He said, we're going to the Grotto. Mike's not even Catholic. And he knows that I've never missed the Grotto. And I'd forgot because I was going to Michigan City.
Yeah.
So I got to go to the Grotto. I never broke my promise.
Yeah.
Never broke my promise.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, it's all fun. But, you know, two things, Ralph, is that one, that Saturday morning, they're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've developed friends through being with them, and they're great guys. And I enjoy just being around them.
Yeah.
And they teach me a lot.
Yeah.
Every once in a
And
while.
this is a lesson for every single Catholic man and woman. We need each other.
Yeah,
we
yes, we
need
do.
friendships in Christ. We need to get
course.
together with each other. We need to go to men's breakfasts and women's breakfasts and Bible studies or whatever. We can't do this journey as a lone ranger. We need brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And then picking up my grandchildren and the other kids I get to meet, I help out once a week, maybe not even once a week, with the Silver Harry football teams. They got 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams. And I go around, just teach little kids little things, stuff like that, talk to them a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just great being around young people because they're our future.
Yeah.
They're the future of the church, and they're the future of America.
Yeah.
And so if we can instill one little thing in each child, tell them how great they're doing and give them a positive influence or trying to give them positive confidence, you know, then we're helping our future and helping our kids and helping our church.
Yeah, you know, I want to tell people about this DVD. It's called 3 Miracles of Happiness, a Spiritual Touchdown. And these are talks you've given to Catholic men about loving God, loving your family, loving your friends. You know, just inspiring DVD from Coach Faust. And we're going to make it available on our website. And Coach Faust can really be an inspiring speaker to Catholic men in your life that you're trying to reach. You know, it's just a joy to see all these things come together, you know, and just overflow in love and service, you know, and you know, it's really great being a Catholic, isn't it? It's really great being a Christian.
You know what?
You know,
it was the greatest gift in my life.
Yeah.
I was born to it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just the greatest gift God could give me, other than my parents.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now He's given me my family, my wife, and my children, my grandchildren, you know, and their spouses.
Yeah.
And you know, what more can you ask for in life?
You're a blessed man.
Yeah. I really am.
It says, "Blessed is the man who fears the Lord."
Yes.
And you've had a respect for the Lord, a reverence for the Lord.
Yeah.
And
Well, I always haven't been the best.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
So I want to make sure that I've made a lot of mistakes in my life.
I don't know if we have a second, but my wife told the story that the experience you had at the Grotto one day when you came upon this crying student, this girl from California. It's a real short story. Could you quick tell? It's very touching, very inspiring.
Well, I was down there. I used to go down there. I promised I'd go every day when I was on campus when I got the job. I was down there 3 times a day after we started losing some games.
Yeah.
Not to hear that. But I was down there one night after practice and after meetings about 10 o'clock, and this girl was crying down there. And it was freshman week. Yeah. So I went up to her and I asked her, I said, "Are you all right?" And she says, "Yeah." She says, "I'm homesick." I said, "Where are you from?" She said, "California." I said, "You know, I got a kid that just came from California, plays guard for us. Would you like to meet him? He's from L.A. She says, "That's right where the area I'm from." I said, "He's from Anaheim, I guess, right outside of L.A." But anyhow, I says, "I'll have him come over." "What dorm are you in?" "Lions dorms," and Linda, Laura's her name. So anyhow, next day.
I used to live there when it was a men's dorm.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right next to the Grotto. Pretty close to the Grotto.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I says, "Larry, do me a favor. After practice, go over and meet this girl. And she's homesick." And I says, "Just tell her you're from LA, ask her if you can help her out." I said, "I'd like to have you do it." He said, "Okay, coach." Next day of practice, he yells, I'm walking through there to go to the men's locker room. He yells, "Coach, come here." So I went over there and he says, "You didn't tell me she was good looking." I said, "Well, Larry," I said, "she's a great girl. She's down at the Grotto." They're married. They have 5 children, I think.
Yeah.
Wow. He's the athletic director at Portland University, Catholic University, out in Oregon now. And they're married, they got 5 children.
Isn't that great? It's a great story.
So that was the Blessed Mother of Christ working through me to get them those two together.
That's a classic story.
Wonderful. They're a great couple. Great couple.
How many children and grandchildren do you have?
I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren.
Okay, great. Are they in the Akron area? Or?
4 are and 2 are in Cincinnati. My son and his wife live in Cincinnati. We have 2 there, Spencer and Chloe Francis. And then up home we have Megan Marie and Natalie Marie, my daughter. And then we have Emily and Alexandra, 2 of my son Steve's, who went to Notre Dame. My son Steve went to Notre Dame. The other 2 went to the University of Dayton.
Okay.
So they're just great. And my wife, we babysit a lot, and we take them a lot of places and everything because all the parents are working, so we sort of try to help out a little bit. And they're just fun to be around. They just brighten my day. Wear me out though fast. Right. Get up there in years, you know. So,
Well, Coach Faust, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for following the Lord when times are good, when times are bad, when times are hard, when times are easy, and thanks for being willing to share your faith with us and with so many people today.
You know, the only 2 days that I've had tough in my life was when my dad died and my mom died.
Yeah.
And I was at their bedside, both of them.
Yeah.
And I whispered, my dad was in a coma. I whispered in his ear, said, "Dad, I love you."
Yeah.
And a tear came down the side of his face.
Oh, wow.
So he had heard
Fantastic.
me.
Yeah.
My mom, she sat up, and my brother and sister were there, and we told her we loved her, each one of us, and she told us she loved us. She lay back and died. Now, the 2 things I'll never regret in all my life. It was the toughest day of my life, but it was the happiest day of my life because there were such great Catholics that I knew they were with God.
Yeah.
And I also knew they knew I loved them.
Yeah.
Because I told them that every day of my life.
Yeah.
So if you could, you know, if you have children, you have grandparents, and you tell them you love them every day, and you pray hard and everything, when God takes them, you know they're going to be with God, and you know that you love them.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach Faust. We got to come to a close now, but thanks again.
Yeah, God bless you both.
Hey, we've got a booklet.
Great being with you, Pete.
Yeah, good being with you, Jerry.
Ralph.
Yeah,
thanks
really
for
good.
having me up here.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Well, to keep up God's work.
Yeah, hey, we'd like to make this booklet available to you at no cost just for the asking. I mean, you need to have the kind of relationship that Coach Faust has been talking about today. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be good times. There's going to be prayers that are answered the way you think they should be answered. There's going to be prayers you don't think are answered. But, you know, the Lord is with us, and He wants to be the hope and the joy and the source of strength in our life. Call the 800 number or go to our website, write to the address, and we'll get this right off to you. Till next week, God bless you.